I'm going to show you absolutely everything there is to know from start to finish in the ForceCraft mod. If you're wondering, is this mod a different mod than Dartcraft? Then no, it is literally the same mod. They've just had someone recode it for newer versions. So the first thing you're going to be going down into the underground and looking for is power ore. This is the main thing you will need in the mod. Once you've mined it up, simply obviously put it in a furnace, and you're going to smelt it up into force gems. With force gems, you can then smelt these into iron ingots. With iron ingots into 2 force ingots. If you use gold, you'll get 3 instead. You could also add a force gem in a book to make the Force and You guide, and some force bricks for decoration if you wish. You can also make a force furnace here. These are made with a few force ingots, and then these actually go twice as fast as a normal furnace. And you can also dye them, as you can see over here, any colour you like. So just a normal furnace, but twice as fast. There is an upgrade slot over here, which you can use these cores in, these upgrades like Experience Core, Freezing Core, etc. I'm going to be showing you more about those later as we go through the mod. And if you do get one of them and you click it into your force furnace, you can shift click it out, but it will void the item, so you won't get it back. After that, you're going to want to make yourself a force rod. It does only have 2 durability, and you will have to make this one originally with the 2 durability. So a force nugget, an ingot, and a stick. The nugget, of course, going from an ingot. If you use a force stick, you can actually make a full durability one. So how do we get the force stick? Well, the force rod itself is used for transmuting items. So using the force rod in your inventory with a diamond shovel turns it into a diamond. Using it with a bow turns it into a piece of string. When you're thinking, that doesn't sound very useful, but it is in some cases. We could turn mutton into chicken and things like that. It's a good way of getting things like horse armor that you may not be using back into iron ingots. We are going to be using it for a few things in the mod. The first thing I'd like you to do is get any old sapling with your 2 durability one and make a force sapling. So just in your crafting grid, force rod and a sapling will make a force sapling. Obviously, you plant the... Oh my god, these traders are driving me nuts. You plant the sapling, it grows into a force tree. You can then cut that tree down into force logs. And then with the logs, put 4 of them in your inventory like this to turn them into force wood. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through every recipe in the game. It just really matters for this process because it's not easy to understand otherwise. So put 4 force logs in your inventory to get 3 force wood. And then put 1 force wood in your inventory to get 4 force planks. If you use 2 force planks, diagonally, you get 4 force sticks. And then, with the sticks, you can use a force ingot, a force stick, and a force nugget to make a full durability force rod. So it is quite this specific process on getting the 4 sticks there. What you're then going to want to do is make an infuser, and that is used by converting an enchantment table, as shown with the force rod and the enchanting table, and that makes you your force infuser. Place down your force infuser and click inside it. It's got a bar for redstone flux or forge energy on the right, and then it's got another empty one on the left. So remember those gems that you smelted up earlier from your ores? Well, that is what you're putting in the force gems. Put those in the gem slot here, and that's going to fill up with liquid force. Now, a whole stack of them doesn't fully fill it up, but I have actually made every item in the mod at least once, and this is how much I have left, and it was full. So you don't really need to fill it up. You're not going to be using a lot of it. But just for the sake of tutorial, I'm going to because I can. You also then want to get your force rod and use a book with it in the crafting table to make an upgrade tome, and that goes in the top left slot there. Again, on the right-hand side, you will need to power it. You can use a mod like Mechanism or any mod at all that makes energy. However, if you are using this as a standalone mod, there is the Force engine you can make, which actually makes redstone flux itself. So force gears, made like this, make the Force engine, shift click it against the force infuser, and it will be facing it. if you click in the Force engine, you've got two different, what they called, tanks. So the left one is for what's going to be making the redstone flux. The right one is for like throttling it or increasing it. I'm just going to show you it in the guidebook because it has some numbers in here. So on the left, you can use lava, which makes 5 RF per tick. Fuel, if any other mods add a fuel fluid, it gives 10, and the same with biofuels, like Immersive Engineering's biofuel will work. It's not added by this mod though. So if you are just using this mod, you could just use lava or liquid force. Honestly, lava is absolutely fine. And then you have throttling fluid, which speeds it up. Nothing, it'll just go at 1 times. Water doubles it, and milk is 2.5. So literally what I would just recommend to do is just get some lava. I'm just going to use creative because I'm in creative and just fill it up. And then the same with a water bucket. You could just use your water bucket and just right click it on or pipe it in however the hell you like. Again, over here, I have made every single item in the mod and it's used this much lava and this much water. So yeah, honestly, you don't seem to need much. And then just add a lever on the back, turn it on, and it's going to start powering it. But of course, you can use, if you've already got tech mods installed, just use that. You know, it's much easier, really. And as you can see, the RF is going up on the right. So what the hell is going on in here then? Well, this is actually how we start using it to infuse items. Now, the items added by the mod, there is quite a few. I'm just going to go over some of the miscellaneous ones it adds before we get into infusing them. So there is a force shears. It won't hurt the animal, but on a cow it drops leather, pig it's raw bacon, and on a chicken it drops feathers. And most of these are just made of, like, you know, force ingots, etc. There's a force flask, which you can right-click to capture mobs. To capture a mob, you sneak right-click with the flask in hand to throw it at the mob. And it can also be right-clicked to get milk, a milk force flask from a cow. And then just put it in the inventory and it'll go back to a normal one. Claws are now dropped by bats. There's a bottled wither. It's a portable wither that can be spawned in by right-clicking the ground of the bottle. It has no charge time and will immediately start destroying the area. It can be created by setting an inert core on fire and right-clicking that fire with a force rod. So this is an inert core. It's the inactive version of a nether star. To obtain it, one has to drain the power of a nether star. The force engine is able to drain the star of its power. And then, like I said, you just click it on there and it, you know, goes into fire. There's also the Baconator. It will automatically feed you as long as there's bacon in the magazine. It's just made of a pig that you've caught in a pig flask. And then you shift right click it if there's cooked bacon in your inventory. Bacon, of course, comes from pigs. And those are kind of the random items that the mod adds. Some of them will be used now in Infusion. So how does infusing work? Well, what you'll notice here on your upgrade tome is that it says tier 0, force points 0, next tier 96. So what we need to do is infuse items to upgrade the tome. So we have tier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. To start with, you can only do tier 0 infusions, and you need to do all of the tier 0 infusions to move up to be able to unlock tier 1. So let's look at the two we've got here. Force. On a force sword, adds 1 level of knockback per item. So basically, you can infuse a force sword with a force nugget to add knockback. So what you do is you go, okay, let's make a force sword made like this. You put it in the middle, so the item you're infusing goes in the middle, and then we get the nugget and we put it up here. I then press start infusion. And as you can see, a little bar goes down, and now it says knockback 1. We have now used the force infusion. Damage. This does the following. If you use it on a sword, it gives it sharpness, on a bow, power, and on force armor, increases punch damage. So we add a claw to a sword and we'll get sharpness. No, you cannot add it to this one, unfortunately. You would need to use a fresh one. You can see it says cannot find matching infusion, whereas if I get a new sword, it works, and there we go, I've got sharpness. So in order to get to tier 1, you must at least once use the force infusion once and the damage infusion once. And that will then unlock for you tier 1 infusions, which is the heart, heat, lumberjack, and speed. So for heat, on force tools, it attempts to smelt any mined block. So golden power source on a pickaxe, for example. So if I get a force pickaxe, and it's not going to work, but I'm going to show you why. I go, okay, cool, I can go on a tier 1. Oh, but I can't do it. If you look at your upgrade tome, can you see it says tier 0, 2 out of 2? We've done the power, what is it called, force and claw infusions, so it's 2 out of 2. However, we need some more force points in order to get to tier 1. Now, if you're thinking, oh my god, really? I've got to do the same thing over and over to get through each tier. The only time I've had to do infusions in a tier more than once was from getting tier 0 to tier 1. When I got to tier 1 and I'd done each of these once, yes, I went through all of them and had to do them all individually to do this tutorial. So, you know, please do subscribe. And if you really want, you can support me on Patreon as well to really support the channel. We do have a Patreon RLCraft server now as well, because it was hellish unlocking all these, but it's very fun. So you will have to do these more to get more points. So as you can see, we've got 50 points and we need 46 more to get to the next level. So I just keep putting in the force sword with another nugget. I put in a new one, make it, and it goes from 50. Now I've got 75. I need another 21 points. So I'm just going to do it a few more times. And then once you've done it, it now says tier 1. 0 out of 3. Force points 29, next tier 71. Now what you'll notice here is that you don't need to keep doing things more than once. So I've now unlocked tier 1 infusions like the heat one. So if I go golden power source, pickaxe, infuse, it actually goes from 29 all the way up to 54. And we have to do the other 2. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Basically, I need to do each one of these at least once, and then that will unlock tier 2. At tier 2, you need to do all 9 of these, and you'll unlock tier 3. At tier 3, you need to do these 4, and that'll unlock tier 4. Okay? And you basically just keep going up and up like that. And like I said, I only needed to seem to do each one once after tier 0. It was only tier 0 where I had to do it more than once to get to the next tier. So what does each tier do? I'm just going to explain them all to you so that you don't have to sit here discovering them all yourself, because maybe you don't need them at certain tiers. Before we get into the video, thank you so much to G-Portal for sponsoring this video. You can get Minecraft or a plethora of other games on their library here through their game cloud system, meaning you can buy as much RAM as you need for, say, a Minecraft server, and if you've got any left over or you want to add more, you can add other servers from different games into your game cloud and switch them out throughout the month as you wish. They have servers all over the world, as you can see here, and give you protection from DDoS attacks, 24/7 support, databases, and the server is immediately online. If you're looking for a specific mod pack in Minecraft, you can simply search it up, like our Patreon server, which we host on RLCraft. You can see it also recommends how much gigabytes you need. I, as a content creator of a community, need to make sure that it's a company I can trust, and my server runs beautifully, better than even running it myself, and I have a lot of experience in running servers. So if you want 10% off your first order with G-Portal, check out the link in my description, and don't forget you can always join the Patreon to support the channel, and also join the Patreon-only RLCraft server. So then, Tier 1. We have Heat, which is made from a golden power source, which is pretty easy to make. On Tools, it will actually try and smelt things, and on Armor, it says max level 1. If you see it saying max level 2, then that means you could put, like, 2 in there, for example, or 1. So that's how that works. Increases the force punch damage by half and sets mobs on fire. Lumberjack, putting this on a force axe, it will actually cut every wooden block in a vertical pillar, using twice the durability. And then Sugar, you can use on tools, a bow, armor, or an upgrade core. So this is where upgrade cores come in Tier 1. So tools, it's efficiency. Bow, you get further flying arrows and faster. Player movement speed on armor, but you can only put 1 per piece. And then on an upgrade core, it converts the upgrade core to a speed core to use as an upgrade for the force furnace. And that is, of course, going to speed up how quickly your force furnace works. So a speed core will increase the furnace speed 5-fold. So as you go up the higher tiers, there's different ones you can get. A heat core will increase the furnace efficiency by 2-fold, allowing you to smelt twice the amount of the same amount of fuel. A grinding core will change the furnace into a grinding mode, where you can make use of grinding recipes. However, for example, grinding a single bone into 5 bone meal. Freezing will change it into a freezer. You can make freezing recipes, like freezing a blaze rod into a bone. And the experience one will increase the experience that can be obtained from smelting by 2-fold. And you get these different cores at different levels. So at tier 1, we get that with sugar being used on an upgrade core. So upgrade cores are used by a force rod on an experience tome, which you can't actually get until tier 2, which is obviously after tier 1. So if you do want to upgrade that speed core in your furnace, you will first need to at least do the speed, lumberjack, and heat upgrades once, and then unlock tier 2 to get the upgrade core, and then upgrade the upgrade core in there, if that makes sense. So the upgrade core at tier 2, you put a sugar up here, upgrade core in here, and you'll get the speed core. And that is tier 1. So once you've done each of those infusions once, you unlock tier 2. Tier 2 adds quite a lot of things, more than any other tier. Experience core. You can put a bottle of enchanting on an upgrade core to get the experience one. Experience tome. You can use a bottle of enchanting on a book, making an experience tome. And you could just right-click that tome to store experience. So this one here, you literally just right-click it. You can press shift to see how much XP you've got stored. You right-click it, etc., to add and take away experience. Considering these both use bottles of enchanting, yes, you do need to do both of these to unlock the next tier. Freezing, if you put it on a force bow, it adds a freezing effect to the arrows. It's made of a snow cookie. A lot of these things where you're like, well, how do I make a snow cookie? It's just a snowball and things like this. If I'm not telling you the recipe, you can assume that it is exceptionally simple. Unless, of course, your mod pack has changed the recipe. A freezing core as well is how you get the frozen one for the force furnace, which I explained in the tier 1 chapter of this video. For those of you clicking around in these chapters, you need to go back and check chapter 1 if you missed it. Grinding core is how you get the grinding upgrade, where you then can grind things in the force furnace. And I do want to just show you, because if you go to grinding, like with this upgrade in, you can get things like force ingots into iron ingots, and you know, back into iron ingots, things like that. The grinding thing will do. It's quite useful. Now holding, this is interesting. So you can get something called a force pack, and this is going to upgrade it. So I'm actually going to show you. This one is a fully upgraded one over here. You can make a force pack, which is this backpack over here. And as you can see, it's got 8 slots. So if I put it in the middle and then make a force upgrade pack, or pack upgrade, and I put that in here, of course, start infusion, I now have a 16 slot version. Now, the reason I'm showing you this so specifically is that because in tier 2, we get the holding upgrade, so it can do 16 slots. But then at tier 3, we get a holding 2 and holding 3, and you can keep upgrading it. So with my 16 slot one, I can then make another one, of course, if you've got to tier 3, and now suddenly it's 24 slots, etc., etc. You unlock the next level of upgrade at each tier, but it's always the same upgrade that you actually use for the infusion. You just need to unlock that higher tier to use it, if that makes sense. So going back to tier 2, we've got luck, which uses a fortune cookie. These are like super easy to make. You transmute with these. Adds looting, fortune. Rainbow, which on shears, you can get loads of different colours of wool when using them. And then the speed core, I think we went over already. You then unlock tier 3 infusions. Tier 3 up next, we've got bleeding. Adding an arrow onto a sword will imbue the force punch with the bleeding effect. A bow will bleed on, hitting, and on armor, it will imbue the armor with bleeding, cursing any enemy hit with bleeding effects. Camo, it says that with the force rod, it will imbue the rod of invisibility, but I done it and nothing happened. And on armor, it makes the armor invisible, showing the player's skin instead. Holding is your second upgrade, so use the tier 2 one first, and then this one to get a 24 slot pack, extra backpack. And then Silky on tools will make it Silk Touch. For tier 4, we have Bane. I'm pretty sure you can guess what this does. It adds Bane of Anthropods, etc. Bane will permanently remove certain monsters' ability, leaving them mostly harm. Oh, it's all monsters. Enderman and Ender Tots Hit with Bane will lose the ability to teleport, and Creepers will actually lose the ability to blow up. This is probably one of the best infusions there is. Heat upgrade is the one I mentioned in Tier 1 for the Furnace, and Holding 3 is your next one. Tier 5, you get Holding 4, you get Healing on a Force Rod. You can add 2 of these, it will imbue the rod with healing, and Wing on a sword allows the user to propel themselves forward using some durability. Tier 6, you get an Ender Pearl you can use on a Force Rod, allowing it to be used as a teleportation device. On a sword, it will add Ender to the sword, so you can target a spot and teleport there. And on a bow, it will cause enemies to teleport randomly, which is a bit concerning if I'm honest. And it looks like you can use an Eye of Ender or an Ender Pearl for this one. Sturdy, on tools, you can use up to 3 of these at once. It will imbue it with Unbreaking. So just as a little recap, for that kind of thing, you could put your pickaxe here. Oh, not on that one, sorry, because it's not got the right durability. Sorry, level. As you can see, I can't add 5, but I can add up to 3 on here, and I can start the infusion. And if you add 3, obviously it will give you Unbreaking 1. Well, on vanilla tools, maybe it's 3, but you can use up to 3 obsidian. It says here max level 3, but maybe that's a bug. It should be giving level 3. If you use 3 of them, you would think. And on armor, it gives reducing damage. Time is interesting. You can use it on a Force Torch, converting it into a Time Torch. And this is going to speed things up massively in the area. Sometimes servers will actually turn this off, and it does state in the guidebook that if you can't make it, then it's been disabled. And it should be that you only have to do Sturdy and Ender if the torch is disabled. And then Tier 7, you get Light. On your Force Rod, you can make the enemy glow. And on a Force Bow, it will imbue any projectile fired for the enemies to start glowing. And you get the Treasure one. On a sword, it will cause the treasure property, meaning that your sword, when you slay mobs, will then drop treasure cards. On a Force Axe, it will imbue the axe with the treasure property, causing slay mobs to also drop treasure cards, which can be crafted into a spoils bag. So, the spoils bags at Tier 7 are these. There's a Tier 1 bag, which is 4 life cards. So these are the ones that come off the treasure one. A Tier 2 and a Tier 3. So when you craft these, if I just take it out from creative, it's just empty, but I'm assuming there's like a loot table in here that mod authors can put in, etc., so that when you make these, when you get the cards that drop with the treasure infusion on your sword, you then put them together, you get a spoils bag that you can look in for loot. I think that's how it works. And that is pretty much it. So there is some red chew jelly, gold chew jelly, green chew jelly. You'll see with slimes, they drop these little chew-chews. Obviously that jelly drops from those. Fortune cookies made of paper and cookies. You use this for some infusion. Same thing with like soul wafers and snow cookies. The recipes are pretty simple, as you can see, using JEI. There's also some force mitts that you can make as well for some extra force punch damage as a weapon that you can use. And there's the magnet glove, which works as a magnet. And you can shift right-click to activate it, drawing experience and items towards you. However, in 1.21.1 at the time of filming, it doesn't seem to be working at the time of filming, but that is what it's meant to do at least. And it is made of a Never Star, which seems awfully overpriced. And that is literally it. That is absolutely everything in the ForceCraft mod. I hope that tutorial was useful for you. Again, do click the link in the description if you'd like your own server for 10% off at Gportal. I really do mean it. They are the absolute best when it comes to servers. I'm actually quite blown away by how good their servers are. And you can also join my Patreon in the description to, 1, support the channel, and secondly, to join the Patreon server, which I now stream on, where you can ask me any questions and request mods, etc. You can also comment down below for any mods that you would like. I do check all the comments on this channel, and I'd love to hear which mods you want to see covered next. I do have some shelves here, tech mods, magic mods, utility, and standalone mods here as well. Utility and standalone mods means it's not in a playlist, it's just a video on its own for the whole mod, for example. But please do subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and again, let me know your comments down below.